Thanks, Tash, and thanks to everyone who's been part of organising today's event. And Toby, great presentation. So I'd just like to add my congratulations to you and to Memjet. I think in some respects, I'm pleased that it's worked out this way, because exactly the insights that you've obtained through this experience in working with Memjet, I think is a great testament to the value of industry engagement with research. So, and the fact that you've been able to deliver value quite clearly to Memjet, and you've been able to obtain value, as has your organisation, from that interaction. So it's just a perfect example almost of what it is that I understand that the Centre's trying to achieve. So, but just by way of background, for those who don't know me, I describe myself as a lapsed pharmacologist. Before doing my science at Melbourne Uni, where clearly I majored in pharmacology, I spent a year in a quality control laboratory at Nicholas Pharmaceuticals. There might be one or two of you around the table that might remember that. That was probably the best year in my career, and made me very motivated to explore science, and gave me an appreciation, I think, of both the fact that you need basic research, but you need to be able to convert that into a product in order to sustain a business. And so it was a great grounding, and any way that you can achieve industry experience, I think, is invaluable, which is why I think these ARC industrial training research centres are so valuable and so important to give that experience, and also to give that perspective on how companies and businesses look at what is the job that needs to get done. And I think that, as you could probably tell, and those who are other advocates for Christensen, I'm a great believer in, at the end of the day, we need to understand what's our purpose and what explicitly needs to happen in order to achieve the outcome that we're after. So my role, so pharmacologist, spent 15 years in industry, and then have spent the last 20 years in public policy, where I've been supporting capability building in Victoria, but Australia more broadly. And the way that I describe my purpose is really to unlock the science and the research capability in our higher institutions, and make it available to address the problems of industry and the problems of government, because oftentimes we don't think of government as a customer, as an industry, when in fact there are many public policy issues where government is the primary holder. And so I'm working currently with other government departments to try and bring forward and crystallise the challenges and encourage them to think about how they can engage with the research and science capability that we have in this state, and obviously in this nation. So it's about, and being a pharmacologist, and given the broad discipline areas around this table, I describe it as a receptor-ligand interaction, where what I'm seeking to do is to build the ligand to respond to the receptor, which is the challenge or the opportunity, and get the right chemical composition and the right structure around that ligand to bind long enough to the challenge in order to produce an effect. And that structure just needs to last long enough for there to be a long-standing outcome as a result. So broadly, that's what I seek to do, which of course is a lot of fun, because it means that you go into a lot of different technology areas, and you get to meet with great people like I am today around this table, because everyone is looking at, has got different expertise, has got different perspectives, and it's only when we get those things happening together in a loosely coordinated way. It doesn't need to be rigid. In fact, the more flexibility is bringing capability and ideas in is a really valuable attribute. So Tash has asked me to talk about industry research collaboration, and I guess that I've spent my career doing that. And one of the best papers that I've read, and I said to Tash earlier that I'm happy to forward to you, is a paper called Jobs for My Grandchildren that was actually published by a medalist of the Industrial Research Institute, which is actually a US institute. It's now changed its name to Industrial Research Interchange, and was established about 40, 50 years ago by chemical companies in the US. So it is a global organisation, and but it's really coming at and seeking to solve innovation broadly, but from the financial industry perspective. And George Whiteside was a medalist of IRI, and he produced this great paper which is really talking about, and we think about the US as being a exemplar in industry research collaboration, and it's certainly better than us, I would think, more broadly, but it's still not perfect. And he talks a lot about how the research community is closer to the cutting edge, so you know the technologies that are emerging. Industry knows are the owners of the problems, and if we can only find a way in which we can get that greater engagement between the two, we'll really start not only creating jobs, but creating industries. And that's what government, at the end of the day, is really seeking to achieve. We talk a lot about jobs, but it's new industries that we need. And by creating new industries, of course, you need the technical specialists, you need the quality control people, you need the marketing. So the multiplier effect of creating new industries is something that is really what government ultimately is trying to achieve and what we can need. So I'll send that paper through to you, Tash and Aaron, and by all means feel free to distribute it. It is very provocative and in a number of ways, and I hope it stimulates great conversation. I'd just like to close by saying that clearly we have been living through challenging times, and I think what it has brought to bear, and what I'm seeking to do in my role, is to highlight the value and the benefit of investing in science and research capability to not only give us enduring capability to underpin future industries, but also to enable us to respond to situations like we found ourselves in 2020. And the research community has been brilliant in stepping up, engaging with our clinicians and our public health officials. We've had medical device companies repurposing and manufacturing ventilators. Thank goodness we haven't had to use many of them here in our state. But it has really supported the push and the demonstrating the case for investment in an area that doesn't deliver immediate returns, but does into a medium and long term. And in this regard, and going back to where I started my career with Nicholas, so Nicholas was established over 100 years ago, doesn't exist anymore, sadly, and he gets to the point. It enabled the manufacture of aspirin in the early 1900s when supply chains were down as a consequence of force. So we had sovereign capability for an important part of the pharmacopoeia. And of course CSL was established again for a similar reason, to have sovereign capability in vaccine production, and we're reading those down. So there is a lot of work being undertaken not only in Australia but elsewhere on reshoring the chemical industry, in particular pharmaceutical industry, so that we've got more options around how we enable and how we respond situations like this and have that greater flexibility to determine how to manage situations like this. And so I think it's a great time for science and research, and the projects that you're working on will demonstrate yet again the case of the value of industry and research collaboration. So I'd just like to wish all the students around this table all the best in your careers. I know that you'll have gained, as we heard from Toby, incredible insights from this experience. And I'd just like to thank the industry players around the table as well for your commitment to engaging with the research community on these projects. I know you'll get value out of it, and I look forward to hearing the outcome. So thanks, Cash, Aaron, and Paul for asking me just to say a few words, and good luck everyone.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Amanda. I really appreciate your words. As I think we've got time for a couple of questions. Does anyone have any questions from Amanda?
I've just asked Amanda if she can share that link to the reference that she mentioned. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay.
I'll try and put it in the chat. If I can't, I'll email it to you. I've got it in PDF, which is a poorly photocopied document, but it might be available online.
Yep. Amanda, can I just ask one question? I mean, how significant has your role had to pivot for COVID response?
Yeah, so
changes have you seen? Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of public health, that's really been driven out of the HHS. Obviously, other companies have been involved more broadly, and we won't go into that. But my primary role has been to, I call it, directing traffic. So we've had a lot of incoming, particularly from universities, and so I've been seeking to connect it into either the manufacturing people in our department or over in health, and we have had coordination committees, and so I see my role as getting after doing some due diligence about on the proposal, is making sure it fits the right place. The second thing that I've done, and during the quarantine period, as I like to refer to it, is to actually do a piece, and I partnered with APOLA, the Australian Council of Learned Economies, to bring together the story of our past investments in science and research capability so that it is available for policymakers as they were formulating their views on economic recovery. So the APOLA report, and I can also send you a link to that, really seeks to pull together the economic evaluation that we did back in 2009 of the Victorians in the room. And we remember the PI initiative, and where we had specific investments in broad-based many projects. And so I've produced a 20-page report that is easy to read and seeks to summarise and support the value of investment in science and research capability. Why is that important? Is I just want to make sure that governments didn't forget that how important it is. It's not a natural place for state governments to invest in. So states deliver services, and 99% of our budget goes to police, teachers, nurses, and the like. And so to be able to quarantine the budget for investing in science and research is really important. And whilst the federal government is a major funder, if we can get that funding on a state level, whether you're in Victoria, New South Wales, wherever you are in Australia, I hope that this report will support your policymakers in making the argument around the budget table for more investment in science research. So that's what I've been doing during COVID times.
All right. Look, I just wanted to thank you very much and for joining us this morning, and also for advocating on our behalf as well. We really appreciate your efforts. All right. Thanks very much, Amanda.
Great.